How can a simple move of the neck or tongue increase your performance by 10 to 30%? I got to reference my friend Dr. Charlie Weingroff, who coined the term packed neck. The theory is it relates to the phrenic nerve, which outputs, through the neck, obviously, comes around the scalenes and under the collarbone, and then innervates the diaphragm, right? So this forward neck position potentially causes some entrapment. I think there's a lot more going on here. We can still pack the neck and have a forward round, which we see a lot in like a shelving position on a squat. So go ahead and pack the neck forward round. So pack it back. We haven't fixed this. So we want to think about like a necklace on here, big medallion, and driving from the collarbone back here and fixing this at the cervical spine. There we go. So it's not so much the neck right here, right? But right here. And it's plain and simple. Like this position right here, owning this position over a hard head down position is going to increase the stability with the innervation of that phrenic nerve. I'm gonna show you a really unique approach to dealing with this forward position here with some soft tissue, our ISATM tools, body tempering tools. Now to understand why what I'm gonna do works, we're gonna publish a behind the scenes piece where I talk in depth about the phrenic nerve, the diaphragm, the periocardium, the scalenes, the SCM. So we could be dealing with a lot of trap, neck tension. We could be dealing with locked up lats, subscap, driving the rib cage up, pec minor, lots of things. So those would be, using some pointed pieces and here a lot of the movements that you would see us work. Now, we're gonna do something different, and you go like, why would this have an impact? And it can be pretty amazing, because it'll end up changing posture, breathing patterns, height of an individual, as well as their nervous system state, like just going into a very relaxed state. So roll this, you're gonna roll this onto your rib cage. I'll just have Kyle show how we would do it. And then we're gonna roll it right up there and then just let it sit. And so he's gonna breathe into it, kind of raising it up, and then relax and letting that release. 3 to 5 minutes. Do you have anybody do it longer?
No, it's plenty.
Yeah. And typically I use a pretty heavy weight, but you're gonna be over 100 pounds with this. And you're really allowing that rib cage to expand and then relax and letting it kind of flatten out almost. Expand in the outward position instead of the forward. And you're gonna roll that. You wanna show them how you roll that back off of you? This is really great from a relaxation standpoint, but somebody like that, they'll get up and all of a sudden this release will happen, their breathing changes. And so again, I dive into why that happens, but the phrenic nerve that innervates the diaphragm runs through all these structures, as well as the periocardium, which is holds the heart in place and protects it. It's attached here and up to the same area in the cervical spine is actually attached to those C4, C5 area and is pulling on this, creating all this pressure in here. When you understand these mechanisms, you can understand just how powerful this is. Donnie Thompson be the one that showed me this. It moved many, many years ago, got almost 10 years ago, and it's simple and phenomenal and works great. And once you start understanding the research and the physiology, you can go, oh, I see why it works now. Anything you'd want to add on there, Kyle?
You'll feel immediate results, like laying on the floor. First of all, I felt relaxed, even though it's heavy. Sitting up, I breathe easier, I feel more relaxed. So you can imagine if I feel good here and I perform better, if you will, here, how I'm gonna feel under the squat bar or with the deadlift bar in my hands.
Yeah, and so watch that other video, but the phrenic nerve that innervates the diaphragm pierces through that periocardium as well. It runs up through all this tissue that can get entrapped with this forward head position as well. And then that pericardium is also can be pulling on that from a really strong attachment point on the spine, which I think I note in that video, but I find it really interesting that a lot of strength athletes, there's a lot of cervical disc issues when there's not a lot of load on it. And this is actually one of the big draws right there on that position. So just some really interesting things. We're gonna show some specific examples of what we're talking about with the neck position, really the base of that cervical spine during lifting, good and bad. So let's show them the deadlift. All right. So this is a bad setup. There we go. And what we see here is this rounding, right? So a little bit of, flexion here can create the sensation of stiffness because we've got more activity in the multifidus. Not necessarily bad if we're in a better position, but too much, and it's going to create a compaction here where we can't inflate in the core. And with this forward position in here, we're also going to have less of an activity of the diaphragm based on the research that we're seeing. So go ahead and show that through the lift. Boom. That's what that would look like. Let's show a correction. There we go. So you still got the same hip position. Good. And through. Boom. You see he has more tension. He can create that, and he's drawing into the bar. He's putting that tension into the bar before it comes up. So that initial pull is actually happening through the tension going into the bar versus going into this absorbing, this fishing rod that's just like able to absorb your energy in the body when we actually want it to go to the weight, right? So let's show that again. So we've got great stiffness, neutral spine, projected head, boom, all the way through, in, bars up, lift, and he finishes in this position right here, all right? Let's show that conventional, and I won't talk through them. I don't think you can just show the good and the bad. All right. And there we go. Correction. There we go. And I often see that way worse than your bad when actual lifting. So a little hard to practice that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Should we show the squat?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
In the squat, we see this happen for two reasons. One, mobility issues. That can be a driver. We talked about that in a separate video on soft tissue. The second being the bar wanting to slide off the back. So people create a shelf for it. No, get a good quality squat bar like the Kabuki squat bar. The Duffin bar can take that even further, or the transformer bar. But let's go ahead and show this setup with the bad position, with the rounding, the shelving. Again, mobility restrictions are just like thinking that bar is going to roll off your back because you don't have the right equipment, maybe. And yeah, we can see that. All right. You want to do a squat or just a... Good. Typically, we'll see during the execution of that squat a lot more of a hinging pattern as a result of this. All right, so let's go ahead and make these corrections. So we're going to go ahead and push that clavicle into the back. There we go. And you can see that bar's driving this way into him. And he still has a great place for the bar to sit. Great knurling on here, so it's not going to slide anywhere. Hint, hint. And squat. Boom. Same position all the way through. We've got maximal diaphragm, activity, stability, all the resources to be able to put all of our power to this bar and no energy loss in our fishing pole either.